And welcome back to Comic Frontline, everybody. I am Brant Fowler, aka the Gonzo Goose, back with you for another episode of Brant's Weekly Comic Rankings, where I rank my top 15 books each week for you, the viewers. And I only read 15 this week, so it's pretty easy. So let's just dive right in. Number 15, Shuri, number 1 from Marvel. I wanted to like this book so much. This is probably the lowest book I've had in a while, and it's sad because she was one of my favorite elements of the Black Panther movie. But this book, I didn't care for the art. I thought it was like a very old style, like 60s level style of art, and the coloring was flat, and I just didn't dig it at all. And the storytelling, it was like this huge info dump throughout the entire thing. And that's just what I got. It's like I had to learn the entire history of this character ever in one issue, and it was a bit much. The little scenes we did get with her building her contraptions, like the wings and things like that, was interesting, and I think there's a lot of potential for the character. But this book did not sell me on that. All right, number 14 is Dragon Age Deception number 1. This was an okay read. It was a fun little story, especially if you like fantasy, if you like anything in that genre, but it didn't really blow me away at all. It's not something that like would bring me screaming back. If there's like a big week, I would totally be comfortable not picking this one up, but it was a fun story. Number 13, Astonishing X-Men number 16. Now that I know that this book is getting canceled, it kind of makes sense. The storyline, this current story arc in this team started off really strong for me, but once you got the Reavers involved, it just kind of got boring. In this issue, it's like just typical what would happen. Okay, they get the Reavers' help, and then the Reavers betray them. Duh. That's what always was going to happen. So that's where we're left at. Some fun moments in the issue, but overall, kind of disappointing. Number 12 is Sideways number 9, and this issue was kind of hit and miss throughout it. I love the stuff at the funeral scene, where they're like, where is he, what's going on, and people talking to Ernie and her sister and things like that. And then the ending is what really sold me on the issue, because it was a really interesting twist, and I don't know where that's going to go. But the middle stuff with him trapped in this place, that element of this current story arc I've never cared for, so that I could just leave. Sideways needs to get out of this place and back into his time, his universe, whatever, so his story is going to get a little bit stronger from here. Number 11, Justice League number 10. This is the prelude to Drowned Earth, and I thought it was an okay issue. I thought some of the dialogue was a little bit stiff, but other than that, I thought it was a pretty good setup to this event, and kind of the entire Justice League being taken out through this, building up to it, was pretty interesting. Number 10, Welcome to Wanderland number 2 from Boom Studios. I enjoyed this series. I think it's this fun little series, and if you haven't checked it out, you should if you're like a fan of Disney World and like fiction becoming reality, and vice versa. It's an interesting little play, but it's really about this girl who loves this park so much and then finds a way into the actual place, and it's real, and going back and forth between the two and trying to learn magic. It was a pretty fun issue. Number 9, The Life of Captain Marvel number 4. This was, again, a solid read. Not the best issue of this miniseries for me, though, but I did enjoy learning more about Carol's mother and really Carol's past in this. It was really interesting to see, hey, it wasn't just an accident. She actually is half Kree, which was pretty cool. Number 8, Exorsisters number 1. I thought this was a solid first issue for this series, and interesting when you get to the point where they're with a little twist of who exactly the sister is at the end. I thought that was pretty cool, and just the way it's handled, that they kind of go and do their thing. It's I don't know. It's like Heroes for Hire meets Supernatural in a way. So it was fun. Number 7, Mr. and Mrs. X number 4. I really like Xandra, and she's the daughter of Professor X and Lilandra the Shi'ar. I like her personality, I like her abilities, and I like her story so far. And you know, I'm a Gambit and Rogue fan, and we get to see them kind of deal with something really personal for Rogue here. So it was a really solid issue, just outside my top 5. And speaking of outside my top 5, we've got number 6 with Aquaman number 31. Again, this is a setup to Drowned Earth, and this one focuses on Mera because, as we learned in Justice League, Aquaman is missing. And Mera is the only person on the Justice League that Batman can get a hold of. But she's in the middle of trying to defend Atlantis from this attack because, you know, the water has become dangerous and it transforms people. So interesting that Mera is like really coming to the forefront in this, and she's like basically the Justice League only hope at this point, and the world's. Warning, if you don't want to be spoiled for this week's Frontline Live, save your place here and come back and watch this later because we are now entering Brant's Top 5. Alright, so number 5 is Runaways number 14. A good issue, and honestly, nothing blew me away this week. I didn't have clear-cut top 5, so it was just kind of, I had to really nitpick on bits and pieces of stories that kind of appealed to me more. I like the art better than I thought I would in this issue, except for Alex's hair looks weird. But other than that, the dynamic between most of the Runaways being kind of together and against Alex, and Alex kind of trying to, for lack of a better term, weasel his way back into the group, and you don't really know what his motivations are, and you, with that last scene, you get this look between him and this Gaborum kid, and you don't know if he's scheming or if well, you know he's scheming, but which side is he scheming for? It's really interesting. They're playing it close to the vest. Rainbow Rowell's playing it close to the vest with Alex, but in the meantime, he is the only one coming up with good plans, and everybody's ignoring him, but he really is the only one that knows how to deal with this stuff. So it's interesting, interesting dynamic right now. And the backup story with Old Lace was fun, seeing things from Old Lace's perspective. Number 4, Nightwing number 51. I know people, this is a story that's kind of polarizing. Some people are for it, some people are totally against it. I actually like it. I think this has been a step up for the Nightwing series in a long time. And it's funny, you have to lose half his memory and make him not Nightwing anymore to make it interesting, which is kind of sad. But I liked it, the fact that he's dealing with this. And last issue we had Barbara come in. This issue you have some really good scenes with Alfred and just trying to get through to him. And you see some things start coming to the forefront of his memories, but most of it's just kind of gone, and he's having to rediscover himself and find out what that means for him. It's an interesting journey, and I'm looking forward to it. Number 3, Strangers in Paradise 25, number 7. This was, again, a solid issue. It's funny, I was telling Kat that as I was reading this issue, I realized that I missed last issue. So I had to kind of play catch up and figure out where we're at. But they did a pretty good job of kind of filling you in. And this, again, was just more about the character moments and the emotional moments, because now Kachu's family is being endangered, and she's going to do anything in her power to protect her family. Nobody threatens her family, and she's going all out, but you kind of just get her take on that throughout, and her trying to get back home frantically as her family is in danger. Number 2, Batman number 57. I like this issue, but I was confused by this issue. And I am willing to admit that the bedtime story went over my head a little bit, and I didn't understand the connection. And hopefully once I get on Frontline Live, or if anybody in the comments has any insight into what exactly that meant in correlation with the story that they were telling with Batman and the Beast, I would like to know, because it was a creepy story that was kind of the Donner Party meets Winnie the Pooh. And it was just weird, and I don't know what that has to do, except for, I mean, the fox is left in, you know, but, and the Beast is left, I don't know. But the intense moments between the Beast and Batman in that fight, it was mostly silent with a lot of grunts and gurs and things like that. But it was the most intense Batman we've seen in a while, and that's saying something considering Batman is usually pretty intense. So pretty good issue. And number 1, a book that surprised me actually, Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man number 311, and I only read this for 2 reasons. 1, because it's a Spider-Geddon tie-in, and 2, because I was told a recent issue of this book took people by surprise and was really good. But I knew I wasn't going to get that because it was the Spider-Geddon tie-in. But I did get something out of it, because even though I'm kind of sick of the Inheritors and this whole event, and Moreland just needs to stay gone for a while, I thought the altercation between the two was really interesting, because Spider-Man sees him. He's just like, he's been up all night, he's been taking out bad guys, and then all of a sudden here's this guy that he thought he had finally gotten rid of, and he's being himself, but at the same time he is frantic, and he's obviously a little bit scared because he knows he's no match one-on-one with the guy, and he's on the run, and he's trying to escape and he's trying to get away from civilians, but at the same time he's trying to get a hold of the Web Warriors and do that whole thing, and Jonah has to go and find the watch to help him out and everything, and you see the concern in Jonah once he finds Peter, and he's like been through it and stuff. So I thought it was a really strong narrative for this story, and I really enjoyed it. So there you go. That's my rankings for this week, my top 15, my only 15. And so I hope you enjoyed them, and let me know in the comments below what you thought. And yeah, come tune into Frontline Live tomorrow night to hear us expound a little bit about what our thoughts are on the top 5. And I should be on there for the top 5 part. So tune in. And of course, you can check out my channel at Brant Fowler, and everything at Brant Fowler across social media and on Patreon. You can check it out, because I'll be doing bloopers and outtakes and stuff of this show when there are some, and I'll post those up there. And I may even do some mini reviews here and there, so look out for that on my Patreon. And of course, check out everything lastnumberpress.com, zone4podcast.com. This week's episode of Zone 4 will be live on Wednesday instead of Friday, because I will be out of town Friday. So tune in Wednesday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time for Zone 4, as we'll be talking Haunting of Hill House and what's happening with Luke Cage and Iron Fist on Netflix. So that's it. So tune in next week for a brand new episode of Brant's Weekly Comic Rankings. Until then, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.